Today you are in for a treat. We're going to be doing a comparison. 2026 rookie class, 2027 rookie class. All of the rookies on one big board here. You can see our first 2027 rookie mock draft was completed. A lot has already changed. Dante Moore, you're gone from 26, buddy. He doesn't want the 50 mil. He doesn't want the bag. He'll be in 2027. Today we'll compare and contrast these classes. Who's stronger, and we're going to do that in a unique way. We're basically going to recreate this mock draft, pretending all of the rookies on this board, and we got some more over here, some more scrubs. We don't even know if they would be in play here. I can tell you right off the bat, these scrubs at the end of the 2027 draft, they ain't going to be in play. We're going to do one big mock as if it's one singular class. That's right. What if Jeremiah Smith was eligible this year? Would I take Jeremiah Smith or Jeremiah Love? That's how we're going to do this video. Please smash the like and subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. I appreciate every single one of y'all watching these videos, man. And I hope this gives you a good explanation on which class is better and the value of your picks. Comment down below any questions, any concerns, any trade questions. Let's start this thing off with a banger. Research. I got probably 60 pages of paper in front of me, man. We start things off contrasting Jeremiah 1.0 to Jeremiah 2.0. Wham, a bam. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Jeremiah Smith would be the 101 and Jeremiah Love is the 102. It's not close for me in these two comparisons. Wide receivers just have more dynasty upside than running backs do. They have more value insulation. They have a higher ceiling. Their careers are usually longer. So Jeremiah Smith, even if, just looking at the production profile for Jeremiah Smith, not to mention the athletic nature and the actual prospect profile, this guy has 1,300 yard seasons back-to-back. Double-digit touchdowns, and he's been doing that all with competitive wide receivers alongside of him. He's been the alpha. Carnell Tate, we're going to have to throw Carnell Tate on this board here soon. Carnell Tate had only 800 yards this year. Jeremiah Smith, 12 TDs and 1,300 yards. So it's a clear Jeremiah Smith at the one spot for me. Now, Jeremiah Love, he is a clear second candidate of this overall class. This guy's good, man. He comes out as better than Genty, better than Bijan. High expectations to live up to. It's really a matter of landing spot, and he's going to be going in the top 10 picks of the first round by my, humble opinion. Yeah, all the mock drafts were saying he should be a top 10 pick. He could go to the Saints. That would be a great landing spot. Replace Alvin Kamara. But Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith, this is how I look at the top of this class. And here's where things get hazy, right? Julian, we're not going to be looking at King Julian for much longer. I think King Julian, without the rushing upside here, he's going to be somebody that falls in this mock of mine. Arch Manning at the 103 is tempting. But, he's better, more upside than Mendoza in my eyes just because of the rushing ability. If the draft was today, I don't have the clarity I need on Kewan Lacey. I don't have the clarity on Hardy, on Ryan Williams, on Sellers. Honestly, I would not be taking those guys over Carnell Tate, over Jordan Tyson. I've been saying this every single time we look at this 2026 class. I think that it's not weak at the top. Carnell Tate, let's take a look at this stud. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. He comes down to George Pickens very, very well. Carnell Tate is good at everything, great at nothing. He has excellent body control, but really, he's really just good at everything. He's not going to be, I'm not going to say he has the upside, anywhere close to the upside of a Jamar Chase, Jeremiah Smith, those alpha players, but Carnell Tate does have a very good floor. Jordan Tyson, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think that the smart move that I'm going to be recommending is taking Tyson over Tate because Tyson does have Justin Jefferson upside. I personally don't think he's going to achieve that relatively soon. The thing about Jordan Tyson is, sure, when he plays, he's astounding. He's very, very good. Comes out to JSN, Drake London, Garrett Wilson. He's very, very solid. Just a solid production profile. Very good short to intermediate route runner. Good straight line speed and acceleration. That's great. I don't care if you can't stay healthy. See, year in, year out, we see this guy miss time, and that scares me. So it's scary right here. But Tyson and Tate, honestly, I like those guys right here in this overall class. And this is where the first debate comes in. Makai Lemon, Kewan Lacey, Arch Manning. To be completely honest, I'm going to take Arch Manning. Call it, due to the lineage. I don't care what you want to say. The reason is I'm throwing him in here. Arch Manning, in terms of passing, I didn't see a ton that I wanted to see in 2025. But that's why he's going to be going back for another year. Obviously, where you can't really factor that in for right now. But all that I like to see is that he had 10 rushing touchdowns Thank you very much. That means he has rushing upside. He had 399 rush yards in 2025. We'll see how that comes out in the next year, obviously. But Arch Manning, I think this would be, a top 5 in terms of this class. So you can see right here, the top 5 players, we have 2 guys from 2027, but it's actually surprisingly heavy, favoring 2026, 2, 3, and 4. That's my first take. And to be honest, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I think that the 106 should also be another 2026 player. Been saying it, man. This 2026 class is underrated at the top, but after the first 5 guys, we'll see what happens here. Makai Lemon. I'm also a little bit, I'm lower than market on Mr. Makai Lemon. Reason being the size. He's 5'11", 190, and slow. He produces, though. This is a guy that he produces. The numbers don't lie. Almost 1,200 receiving yards. Almost 12 touchdowns. He had 11 TDs. Comps out to like Emeka Egbuka very, very well. And people are sleeping on him, which is causing him to fall under the radar. Comps out to a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. 70% of the time he's in the slot, 30% out wide. I think he has good upside, though. And with the production I saw, 1,200 receiving yards, he just comps out than any of these other 2027 guys. He's better than those guys that we'll be talking about here shortly. So look at that. 4 guys from 2026 in the top 6 players. And now we start getting a bit of a run, right? I've been telling you this. After the top 4 in 2026, it's a cliff. It's the first value cliff, and we're going to see the 2027 guys start flying. Kewan Lacey. This guy, the numbers are looking very, very juicy, right? We're going to obviously have to do more analytical, athletic deep dives, but I'm just looking at the numbers for a guy like this, man, and I like what I see. Like 1,500, almost 1,600 rushing yards, 24. A baker's dozen times half. Is that true? I don't know. But 24 touchdowns, 177 receiving yards, receiving upside. Massive for the running back class. So Kewan Lacey, great prospect. I hope he has another good year because I think this guy could be a top 4, top 5 dynasty selection in 27 drafts. And that's why I'm throwing him here at the 107. There's honestly a case to be made where he could even be higher up on this draft board. But I make the rules around here. I'm going to keep him where he is. The next name to talk about, probably guys that are fringe. Like that's where my elite tier probably ends. And now we're starting to talk about fringe. But while we're talking about fringe, I am going to throw in the first overall selection of 2026. The actual draft come April. So Mendoza's going to be going first overall to the Raiders. He's going to have Bowers. He's going to have Genty. The rushing upside is not good, which makes me not that happy, right? Like Jared Goff. Let's say his ceiling is Jared Goff. It's a serviceable quarterback. In a Superflex league, you're going to have a quarterback-needy team that probably goes and takes him. It's not flashy. It's not Arch Manning. But he looks pretty dang good this year, right? So he's serviceable is the name of the game. He's young, serviceable, and he's got some weapons around him, but the O-line will get him killed. I like Mendoza where he is. I think there also would potentially be a run on quarterbacks, but I don't really necessarily want to go down that route. Instead of putting Lenora Sellers in this run of quarterbacks, I'm going to have Julian. King Julian from Ohio State, Madagascar. The thing about Julian is this is like Mendoza 2.0. This guy, it's a very good quarterback class in 2027. A lot of guys coming out. In fact, I think, I'm going to have to be honest with you guys, I think it is going to be a run on quarterbacks here because I forgot the boy, the kid, the king, Dante. Welcome to the club, buddy. Dante Moore, quarterback, Oregon. He's not 2026 anymore, he's 2027. This guy actually has some rushing upside. I personally don't know what this guy was thinking. Like, maybe he didn't want to go to the Jets with Garrett Wilson. And honestly, not a terrible O-line. Very crazy. But you do have Julian in here as well. His passing number is very efficient. His rushing upside is negligent. So I'm not super excited about him either. But you can see a big run on quarterbacks the way that these numbers look. And now we're going to start going back to the 26 class. You had back-to-back 2027 quarterbacks. Let's head back to Denzel Boston. Again, the first cliff for 2026 was Makai Lemon. There's still a tier of guys that I do kind of like in this 2026 class, and Denzel Boston will start it off here. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. He's a big, bad man. The production is what I like to see right here. 890 yards and 11 TDs. He's a big guy. He's a bit slow, plays 80% out wide. I like him. And, if the draft was this year, I would probably be taking Denzel Boston over some of these other guys coming up shortly from the 2027 class. Jonah Coleman, Jadarian Price, Concepcion. Where do we want to throw these guys in compared to some of the 2027 shots? I think we're going to start talking about Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams disappointed in a big, big way in 2025. Problem is, with Ryan Williams, he's got speed, he has upside, but we haven't necessarily seen it completely click. But I'm fine taking a shot on a guy like this. His rookie year, 865 yards, 8 TDs. 2025, only 700 yards and 4 TDs. So the production is lower than Boston, which has me scared. But he is still 6 foot, 180, smaller type receiver. Bama wide receiver. The Bama offense was terrible. Let's just chalk it up to a bad season. I think this guy would test well at the combine. So I am going to be boosting his stock specifically. So I like Ryan Williams going right there. A lot of running backs could also be going in this range. I'm going to just bump down. I like Nate Frazier. I do like me some Nate Frazier. I do like me some Lenoris Sellers here with the rushing upside that he brings. I think what we have to do is we got to start looking at Jonah Coleman and Jadarian Price. Jadarian Price, I'm not as high on him as I am Jonah Coleman for one main reason. Jonah Coleman, weird archetype, 5'9", 230 pounds. The thing about him is he's a very good receiving back. He's not necessarily the best runner of the football of all time, but when you have 354 receiving yards and 31 receptions in college in his final year, that's what I like to see. He's a good pass protection back. I see this guy getting on the field on third down and having a role in the league sooner rather than later. So I do think that Jonah Coleman is somebody that I'd be taking over Price, who has no receiving usage that we've seen thus far in college. Coleman's going to be a day 2 back in this year's actual draft. Now we start taking more shots. And this is where a big riser. I was a little bit lower on Frazier in the last video, but Frazier is growing on me in terms of athletic, upside. I think Nate Frazier could be somebody that is a big-time riser in 2027, and I like the receiving usage here. In his rookie year, 671 rushing yards, follows it up last year, 2025, with 950 rushing yards. Okay, his receiving usage grew to 16 receptions, 120 receiving yards. He's shown that he is capable, not necessarily the ceiling that we see with a guy like Coleman or any of the guys like Lacey who has more receiving upside, but Nate Frazier is a running back that I would compare to Jonah Coleman quite easily. Kenyon Sadiq, the first tight end off the board, and it's not really close for me. I think Sadiq and Stowers, Stowers, there's some buzz that Stowers could be the first tight end taken in the actual April draft. It's too early to tell for me, and I think Sadiq might be better just from a fantasy upside perspective. After Kenyon Sadiq, I'm going to be throwing a dart here at Lenoris Sellers. Let me just say, this guy is trash. This guy stinks. He's not good at passing the football. But when I look at the potential of a guy on my Dynasty team, who do I want to be on my squad? Who do I need? And this guy had a 700 rushing yard season. I'm getting lost in the sauce of all these papers. But Lenoris Sellers, he might be trash at throwing the football. He might be Justin Fields, not in Pittsburgh, right? Where Justin Fields, his touchdown to interception ratio is terrible, where he can't complete a pass, or he might not be. We might see him bounce back in 2026 and develop. It's a bit of a project quarterback. Reminds me highly of Anthony Richardson, but I'm taking the shot. Let's take another shot right here and go back to the 2027. Well, you can see we're not necessarily sticking to this 2026 class anymore. You're seeing a lot of these 2027 guys go because I think that it's a deeper class in 2027. And honestly, like Jadarian Price will mix his way in here, but I'm confident in just throwing these guys on the board one after the other. Like I'm taking myself, Jadarian Price. I'm probably taking Price. I'm taking Price over Isaac Brown, to be honest. So let's throw Price in here, and then we'll have the run on these players. Jadarian Price is a great rusher of the football. He's almost 6 foot. He's 210. He's young, 21 years old when the season rolls around. Going to be a second or third round pick come April. The rushing, he's behind Jeremiah Love, so he doesn't have like the high stats where he's like only at 700 rushing yards, but the efficiency is quite solid. 6 rush yards per attempt, okay. Receiving, absolutely nothing. So, if they're not using him as a receiving back in college, what are the odds that a team gives him that chance in the league? Probably pretty low. Isaac Brown, on the other hand. Isaac Brown, I do like me some Isaac Brown. Smaller school right here from Louisville. Let's take a look at the papers and the stats on a guy like this. Looking at Isaac Brown, what can he actually be? What can Isaac Brown do for us that one of these other running backs can't? I think Isaac Brown is going to be a good option in the league because We saw the receiving usage in his rookie season in college, 1,200 rush yards rookie year and 152 receiving yards. He out-received some of the backs that are going ahead of him in this mock, followed it up with 850 rush yards, lower receiving work in his following, last season. But Isaac Brown's the name to watch as well from this class. Concepcion, solid receiving option here from Texas A&M. He's going to mix in. I'm going to tell you right now, Nick Marsh, Elijah Lofton, Caleb Odom, these guys are scrubs from the 2027 class. So I'm just going to take those guys straight up off of my board. Bryant Wesco, banged up Clemson receiver. I think this is somebody that should be on boards. Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo. This is where I start taking the shots. CJ Carr, another serviceable QB option. Doesn't have the rushing upside. Trey Green will mix in somewhere there. And this is where you can just see that, like, compared to these guys over here, I would mix in Eli Stowers actually along here with Trey Green. But this is where there would just be a massive, like, if we went to a third round of this draft, which I'll just show you guys, like, what it would look like, I would just start hammering home a lot of these players. I mean, I would mix in Jaden Bowe. I mean, yeah, like, start mixing in. Look at the run on these 2027 guys that we would be seeing right here in round 3. Ahmad Hardy is not even on the board. And this is a guy, I don't even know how we forgot him. Let's take a look at his stats. I mean, Ahmad Hardy, right? 1,350 rush yards in his rookie year, 1,650 rushing yards last year. Ahmad Hardy is somebody that would probably be up here right behind Kawan Lacey. So everybody would be bumped down one spot. You'd have Ahmad Hardy right there. We'll just pair these guys up at the 107. But you can see that the depth of this 2027 class is much stronger. But to be honest, at the top, I think it's comparable. We're missing some guys like Elijah Surratt. I'm not a huge fan of Surratt. I think he's extremely slow. So if I was to actually put Surratt on this board here, I'd probably mix him in around this 210 spot. But, like, take a look at the depth of this 2027 class compared. Look at the guys that aren't on the board from 2026. Bernard, Haynes, Chris Bell. Chris Bell debatably could be down here in this tier, guys. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, no. Emmett Johnson is debatably down here in this tier, guys, for me. Ty Simpson, I mean, not really, like, debatably down here in this tier, but I'm not super excited about any of these guys right here. Whereas the guys going back to school down here in this tier, I think that, like, Wesco, injured, Coleman, a couple of the transfers here, like, these guys can improve their stock and I can be excited. So let's just break it down. We have a 2027 going first. Then we got a run on 2026 players. We got Arch Manning, but it's mostly 2026 at the top for me, surprisingly. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a Lacey or a Hardy rise up, comparatively to where this Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson tier is, but we just don't have enough information to do that just yet. Then you see a bit of a, 1-for-1. You see some 26 and 27 mixed in, but as you get to the end of the second round of players, in terms of, like, the second round of what your rookie draft is actually going to be, just a lot more depth in the late first, a lot more depth in the early second from this 2027 class. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this video gave you the information you need. Now, hopefully give you some more information about the value of these classes, which class is better. Comment down below. Did we miss anybody else? Hopefully not. Smash like and subscribe button. See you boys in the next one.